Hi, welcome to Plan to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. My name is Josh Bissell, and I'm the editor of this weekly podcast. Today, we're continuing our series on making 2021 the safest year ever. Here's Melodie with some top tips on making your organization a safe place for the vulnerable and those who work with them. I hope you enjoy.
Hello. Welcome back to Plan to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. It is my pleasure once again this week to bring you some of the best practices for safeguarding in 2021. As we start a new year, last week we began our series of 21 best practices to take into this new year. We find ourselves very much in the same place that we found ourselves in so much of 2020. We are facing a new norm. I've had opportunity to talk to a number of clients this past week, and over again, I hear people say, we aren't doing programming. We really have nothing going on right now. That is concerning because I think we're in this for the long haul, and we have been given responsibility and we have been entrusted with the work of reaching the vulnerable sector and ministering to them. And there are a lot of people that are hurting these days. There are a lot of people that are vulnerable. There are a lot of people that need a community of care. So I want to continue to encourage you not to find yourself in a place where you're in a holding position. I don't know if you've ever been in an airplane and you're in a holding position. It can be very boring. I have been in a holding position in an airplane, and I've circled and watched the city lights down below, and we go in a circle around and around and around and wonder when we'll be able to land. So many of you are currently in a holding position. I hear you say, well, we really have no programs going on right now. We really have no activity. Please don't find yourself in a place where everything is put on hold. If you need to find new opportunities, there are so many people that are hurting. There are so many vulnerable that need someone to show them care. And there are many opportunities that you find yourself in or may find yourself in where you are walking alongside someone who is in need of a friend, a mentor, a counselor, a caregiver. So the best practices that we are providing to you in January of 2021 will help position you to safeguard your organization and safeguard yourself from being placed in a vulnerable position where you could be wrongfully accused of doing something inappropriate. It is also ensuring that you are protecting those that you serve. So I want to encourage you to build on what we learned in the last quarter of 2020 when we spoke extensively about power imbalances. When I finish the recording of the podcast, I have the opportunity to be interviewed by one of the faith magazines in Canada tonight, and we're talking about how to protect yourself from wrongful allegations of abuse or situations of abuse where there are power differentials. And so many of our best practices with Plan to Protect are protecting both you, your organization, your leadership, and those that you serve. Just for example, some of the phone calls I've received this week is from a church that is live streaming their sermons and live streaming their worship services, where they bring a handful of people together, social distancing, to record worship. The question was asked, we have a number of young people that are participating. Do we need to screen and train our worship teams and our sound booth people? And my answer, probably not what he was looking for, was absolutely yes. Think about it for a moment. You've got your worship practice possibly happening on a Thursday night or a Friday night or even a Saturday morning. And parents drop their teenagers off so that they can participate in the worship teams. Even as I was watching YouTube with my own worship team this week, almost everyone on that worship team was between the age of 16 and 25. As parents drop their students off, their children off at the church for the practice, everyone has their masks, their social distancing so they don't get COVID. But those parents are entrusting their students into the care of the church leadership to do the worship practices. So absolutely, your worship team, your sound booth teams, those that are providing assistance, whether that's a car wash or collecting food for the food bank or random acts of kindness, dropping groceries off. All these people that are participating in these beautiful acts of kindness should be screened and trained because they are providing care to the vulnerable sector. People who find themselves in a position of distress. This week, Cedric and I are going to be offering a free webinar on Thursday. If you get an opportunity, please join us live on Thursday for a live webinar on what is vulnerability. What are the different types of people groups that find themselves vulnerable? Drawing on the expertise that Cedric has working with the homeless, working with people on the street, working with people that have mental illness and substance abuse issues, children, youth. There are so many different people that fall under this category of vulnerable. Please join us for that webinar, but please also look at your own programs and examine where currently you are caring for the vulnerable. And if you aren't, if you've closed down all your programs and activities, I really encourage you to do some strategic planning this year and say, how can we do program? How can we do activity, community events? How can we help our neighborhood? How can we help our church community do ministry, do activities and programs during COVID by providing care? You may find yourself doing hospital visits or doing online counseling, mentoring. You may find yourself doing many acts of kindness. Please protect both yourself, your team members, and your community. As your partner in safeguarding, we really truly want to come alongside of you. We want to provide to you the tools, the resources, the training, help you problem solve so that you can best care for the people that you have been entrusted care for. So last week we started with 4 or 5 of our best practices for 2021. We're going to be really focusing on this for the next month. We want to help position every one of you to be well positioned as you begin a new year. Last week we talked about the Plan to Protect online assessment. This is a free assessment. It's available on our website. We also talked to you about identifying strengths and goals for this coming year. We also encourage you to establish daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual routines. And then we encouraged you, and I want to encourage you again, to join us on February 1st. We want to fill this class. It's a free course online on Facebook. It's a Facebook Live group, and it's called Serious About Safety. This is a week where we are going to dig deeper into some of these best practices for 2021. You will want to join us to be able to access some of our contest prizes, meet our team, learn these best practices, and gain the skills for both you and your team. Invite your networks, invite your leaders, invite your team members to this free conference. It doesn't cost anything. It's just online, and we're just going to be sharing all this great wealth from our certification training with you and your team. So now I want to speak to you about some of the best practices and continue to build on this list. I've got 3 or 4 more for you this week. I really want to encourage you in the beginning of the year to invest in yourself. I am reading a great book right now with my family. We have dinner together in the evening, and then we turn on an Audible book. And this book is teaching me how to tenderly care for myself. And sometimes I can be so busy, both as a pastor's wife, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a volunteer in community groups, and as a student, and on top of that, as the president of Plan to Protect. I can be pretty busy. I'm an Enneagram number 1. I'm always going, always running, seldom say no. And I am trying to take time during 2021 to rest and invest in myself. Invest for my own professional development. Do you know, I am really committed to this. I'm in my 60s now, and I love to learn. I am an avid reader. I read every leadership book going. I went back in my 40s to work on my master's. In my 50s, I started my doctoral program. I'm an avid learner. And I always say, we don't know what we don't know. So I want to encourage you for your own refreshment this year to invest in your own professional development. I want to challenge you to pick up some really good books this year that will help you continue to sharpen your skills in safeguarding. There are so many excellent books out there now that never were available 20, 30 years ago. One thing that you can certainly do, and I think this is a great best practice, is to pick up some biographies of victim survivors of abuse. I know for me, this was very transformational as I started reading the lived experiences of victim survivors of abuse. I also want to encourage you to make sure that this year you've got money set aside for your professional development. Sharpen your skills. I want to invite you, and this is a great month to do this, and that is to take our certification training. We have 5 certification courses with Plan to Protect. Both our Administrator Leader Level 1 and Level 2. Those are foundational courses. Those are really, if you're going to take any professional development with us at Plan to Protect, I want to encourage you to take Administrator Leader Level 1 and Level 2. In these courses, you will learn about reporting abuse, the different types of abuse, indicators of abuse, how to recognize abuse. You will learn how to maintain and update policies and procedures. If you are a department leader, you will need to write and establish procedures so that your volunteers and staff are all going in the same direction. In this course, you will learn how to manage screening processes for all your volunteers and your staff. You'll learn how to manage documentation and be able to meet the insurance requirements to qualify for abuse coverage. Those are our foundational courses, and we really want to encourage you to invest in your professional development. If you are not certified as an administrator leader with Level 1 and Level 2, really want to encourage you to do that. Then we have our Train the Trainer course. If you are the trainer for your volunteers and staff, you won't want to miss out on Train the Trainer Level 1 and Train the Trainer Level 2. In Level 1, we talk about your initial training and onboarding volunteers with orientation training. In Level 2, we talk about how to make your training new and different every year as you do refresher trainings. And we talk there about a lot of case studies and how to use creative methods of training, to keep volunteers engaged and excited and motivated to care for the vulnerable. And then finally, our newest certification course is our crisis response and management course. This is a training I want to encourage all senior leaders and board members to take. Honestly, this is the best course we offer at Plan to Protect. It will position you with a crisis plan if anything goes wrong. If you have any incidences of abuse, if you get called by the media, if you find yourself on the other side of a reporter, how to deal with the media, how to mitigate that crisis, how to handle with ease a crisis that occurs within your organization. So I really want to encourage you to develop in 2021 and invest in your own personal and professional development. And then I want to encourage you, if some of those courses aren't for you, I want to encourage you to identify people within your organization that is best suited to take those courses. We have updated our whole schedule for the whole year. Okay, so it's on our website, plantoprotect.com. You can go to schedule and you will find a list of all of our orientation and refresher trainings that we offer live. You will not want to miss Amber Tompkins, our newest lead trainer. She is phenomenal. She is such a great communicator, and she has helped us finish off our newest PowerPoints for Plan to Protect trainers. So if you want to see Amber in action, she is offering training every month, both live orientation and live refresher trainings. And you can see how an expert does these trainings. And we've completely revamped all of our orientation and refresher trainings, new PowerPoints, new creative methods of training, new scenarios, new statistics. So check out our schedule and you'll see our live orientation and refresher trainings there. And you will also see all the special interest webinars that we have scheduled for the full year. While we're talking about learning, I want to invite you to the Abuse Prevention National Conference. It's going to be held in Nashville this year. And it is a real privilege for me to participate in this conference. This conference is being hosted by ECAP. And I had the privilege of sitting on an expert panel that came up with standards for child protection. And they are offering their first conference this year. It's in Nashville on June 17th. And you can go to our website and you can see the details for the conference. Join me in Nashville to be able to participate in this conference. This is a whole day long conference with experts from North America focusing on child protection. There is, and I'll make sure that Josh includes in the show notes to this podcast, both a link for ECAP and the conference, along with a code for you to be able to get a discount on the registration for that conference. So I encourage you to join me at the Abuse Prevention National Conference in Nashville in June. So I've given you a couple best practices for this year. It really is for your refreshment, for your professional development. Take certification courses, join us for the conference, check out our schedule, and finally pick up some really good books. Those are best practices for 2021. A best practice is being really informed and equipped to be able to be on your A game, so that if questions come your way as a leader, if an incident happens, you know how to respond. That is a best practice. And then finally, in closing, I want to remind you again to please share the link to this podcast with others. Please subscribe to the podcast. And as I already mentioned, please join us for series about safety starting on February 1st in our Facebook group called Serious About Safety, a Plan to Protect Masterclass. This is a free course. It runs every day for 1 hour. Meet our team, hear testimonials from some of our clients and from victim survivors of abuse, and really get that turbo boost that you need for 2021. We're still only partway through our best practices for 2021. Join me next week as we dig a little bit deeper into some of those best practices that will impact your volunteers and your staff members. Looking forward to you joining us. Love to hear your feedback. Take care. Goodbye.